Hare Krishna. Please subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon. Never miss any updates.
Hare Krishna. So today we are going to discuss the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and hope all of you have this copy Bhagavad Gita as it is. This is the largest selling Bhagavad Gita around the world. Bhagavad Gita as it is. If you don't have hard copy, please try to arrange, and if not possible, at least please open your soft copy of Bhagavad Gita in your mobile or your laptop, and then we'll discuss. Okay, the first important thing which you will find in this Bhagavad Gita is, after the preface, Prabhupada's signature. This is not an ordinary signature, please understand. This is a transcendental signature of Prabhupada. Very, very unique. You can please see, observe this signature, and then in the introduction, Prabhupada writes many pranam mantras. So we request all of you to please chant those pranam mantras every day before the session. Okay, so now we'll be chanting the pranam mantra. You also can please chant along with me. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagarna Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vikshakha Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyescha Kripa Sandhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे. श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय. So I hope all of you already read the introduction and the preface, and then we'll be directly shifting to the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So here there are few important points to understand. Prabhupada has named the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita as observing the armies in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. If you go back to Vyasadeva's Bhagavad Gita, original Bhagavad Gita, in that Vyasadeva has also written the names of each chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He has already written. And every chapter name will end with the word yoga. Why yoga? Because Bhagavad Gita overall describes two principles. The first one is called as Yoga Shastra. The Bhagavad Gita describes about yoga. Yoga means linking ourselves with the Supreme. So the process of linking ourselves with the Supreme is called as yoga. So this is also called as Yoga Shastra. That's why each chapter name will end with the word yoga. And it is also called as Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya means the science of the self. So these are the two principles which are taught in Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Vidya and also the Yoga Shastra. Now, who all are the people observing the army? There are three personalities who are observing the armies in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. The first one is Sanjaya. Sanjaya is the secretary of Dhritarashtra. So he is observing the army. Second is Duryodhana observing the army. He is also observing the army. And the third personality is Arjuna observing the army. So in the first shloka itself, you will find Dhritarashtra, who is sitting in his palace in Hastinapura. he is asking a question. He is inquiring to his secretary, Sanjaya. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmashetre kurukshetre samaveta yuissavaha mamakaha pandavascheva kimakurvata Sanjaya. Hey Sanjay, he is asking the question that what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? Now this inquiry is very, very important. The Bhagavad Gita has started from an inquiry. You see, the inquiry done by Dhritarashtra and the whole Bhagavad Gita is actually started. So inquiries are very, very important. So in the whole course of Bhagavad Gita, you should always remember this thumb rule. What is the thumb rule? First one is submission. We should be submissive to understand this Bhagavad Gita. And the second important thumb rule is inquiries. So you should be submissive and also you should inquire properly. Then only we can actually understand the Bhagavad Gita. So Dhritarashtra, who is not only physically blind but also he is spiritually blind. So he is inquiring that what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do? Why he is inquiring like this? Because he knows that this Kshetra, this particular field of Kurukshetra is also a Dharma Kshetra. That's why he is mentioning the first word as Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra. Why it is Dharma Kshetra? Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna himself is there in the battlefield. So it is Dharma Kshetra because Krishna is there, and also it is Dharma Kshetra because in the past the same Lord who has come in the form of Parshurama, the Shaktyavesha Avatara Parshurama, has killed many Kshatriyas at the same land, Kurukshetra. So it is told that when Parshurama killed many Kshatriyas, it became 5 kundas, 5 ponds of blood. Even now if you go, you can see those ponds are available. It is called Rakta Panchaka, the 5 kundas of blood, which is available even now. The water which is there inside the kunda is still red in color. So that's why it is called as Dharma Kshetra, and this Dharma Kshetra is located at Kurukshetra. This Kurukshetra is actually called as Dharma Kshetra. So many people, they actually interpret Bhagavad Gita in a wrong way. They say this Kurukshetra is actually signifying our body. It's a symbolical. Bhagavad Gita, Kurukshetra, Arjuna, Krishna, Samvada, everything is symbolical. And what it actually represents, Kurukshetra represents our body, Krishna is super soul, Arjuna is soul, and then there is a fight happening between good and bad, and then Arjuna, who is soul, he is worrying, so then guidance is given. So like that, in a many different way, they actually misinterpret Bhagavad Gita, which is actually very wrong. We all have to go to an authorized version of Bhagavad Gita, which is Bhagavad Gita as it is. If you see in the last page of introduction, Prabhupada writes the disciplic succession, how this Bhagavad Gita is coming, how this knowledge is coming to our parampara, which is called as Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. So we all have to understand Bhagavad Gita as it is. Why Prabhupada named it as it is? The meaning of as it is means exactly what Krishna wanted to tell, same thing is given here. In other words, if I say, see, Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna in Sanskrit. Just imagine, if Bhagavad Gita, Krishna had to speak in English, Krishna would have used the same expressions, the same language and the same words, sentences which Prabhupada has written in this book. That is the meaning of as it is. As it is what Krishna wanted to give to Arjuna. The first shloka itself explains the mentality of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra, he has, in the first shloka itself, he has actually differentiated between his sons and the sons of Pandu. Although all are one family, all belongs to Kuru dynasty, but still he is saying my sons and the sons of Pandu, Kauravas and Pandavas. So he is differentiating. So this also explains the mentality of Dhritarashtra. So here we can see Sanjaya is explaining what all is happening in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So first what happens is Duryodhana, he goes to Dronacharya, he started explaining about the position of his army. So he says, Pashyetam Panduputranam Acharyam Mahati Chamum Vyudham Drupadaputrena Tavashishyena Dhimata. This Duryodhana was very diplomatic person. Prabhupada writes in the purport, very diplomatic person. What he does is, sarcastically he is pointing out the mistake of Dronacharya. Why he is pointing out the mistake? What exactly happened? He is saying, Tava Shishyena. Who is your Shishya? Drupadaputrena. The son of Drupada is your one of the Shishya. So who is Drupadaputra? Drupadaputra is Drishtadhumna. The story is actually described in Mahabharata. This Dronacharya and Drupada studied in the same Gurukul. Just imagine a poor Brahmana, Dronacharya, and son of a king, Drupada, who was a prince, studied in the same Gurukul. They both became friends. No issue of racism, no issue of caste, no issue of color and creed. Everybody is equal. This is called the transcendental equality, which is there in Sanatana Dharma since the beginning of the creation. So both became the friends, and Drupada, because he knows that Dronacharya is very poor, he actually promised him, saying that half of my kingdom I will actually give to you. Once I become king, half of my kingdom I will give to you as a gift. So later what happened is, when Dronacharya, he became the Guru, so he thought of going to Drupada and then asking for the kingdom because he has promised. So when Dronacharya went to the kingdom of Drupada, Drupada denied that I did not make any promise. He denied giving the half of his land or kingdom to Dronacharya. Because of this reason, Dronacharya became very angry. And finally, when there was a time of Guru Dakshina, Dronacharya asked Arjuna to go to Drupada's kingdom, kidnap Drupada, bring him back to the kingdom of Hastinapura. So Arjuna went to the kingdom of Drupada. He fought with the army alone. Arjuna was so powerful. And then he brought back Drupada to the kingdom of Hastinapura in front of Dronacharya. And he was tied with the ropes. So because of this reason, Drupada became enemy of Dronacharya. So Drupada went back to his kingdom and he asked all the Brahmanas to conduct a yagna, to perform a sacrifice, so that he can get a son who can kill Dronacharya. See? So Brahmanas, they performed a yagna, and out of yagna, the Drishtadhumna was born, who is actually capable of killing Dronacharya. So Dronacharya knew very well this Drishtadhumna is going to kill him. Still he did not deny him to give education. So that's why Drishtadhumna, he became the disciple of Dronacharya, and then Dronacharya taught him all the arts of military, the military science, and then finally he was there against Kauravas, standing against Kauravas as a commander-in-chief of Pandava's army. So that's why sarcastically he is using that Tava Shishyena Dhimata, your pet disciple, your qualified disciple is actually there against us. Sarcastically he is mentioning. And then he is also mentioning the names of many kings, many Maharathis, those who are there at the side of Pandavas. And then finally he comes back to the side of Kauravas. He is observing his own army. Actually he is very fearful. Duryodhana, by seeing the army of Pandavas, he became very fearful. So just to cover up his fear, he is doing all those drama. So then in the 8th shloka, Duryodhana is explaining about his own army. So first he is glorifying Dronacharya himself. He is saying Bhavan, then he is saying Bhishma, then he is saying Karna. So like this many Maharathis he is mentioning, and ultimately all are actually connected to Dronacharya. So because he has sarcastically put a taunt on Dronacharya that you were Sishyena, Tava Sishyena Dhimata. Again he is specifying the things. So he is saying yourself is there with me, Bhishma Pitama is there, and also he is mentioning the name of Karna. Why he is mentioning the name of Karna? Although Karna is not present, because Karna already told, Bhishma Pitama already has taken a vow, if Karna is there, I will not be there. So there is a issue between Karna and Bhishma Pitama. So Karna, he was actually not present in the battlefield. Still he is taking the name of Karna just to explain that Karna is always with me. Although he is not in the battlefield, still he is taking his name. And then he is also taking the name of Ashwathama. Ashwathama is the son of Dronacharya. So he is glorifying the son of Dronacharya, so that Dronacharya becomes little pleased. He is also taking the name of Kripacharya. Kripacharya is also a relative of Dronacharya. Then he is also taking the name of Vikarna. Why is taking the name of Vikarna? Vikarna is not at all a very important warrior there. He is not even a Maharathi. He is not a very important warrior. But why he is taking the name of Vikarna? Because Vikarna was the one who objected at the time of Draupadi's Chirharan. So Vikarna is actually brother of Duryodhana, one of the 100 Kauravas. But still he objected at the time of Draupadi's Chirharan. So he is mentioning his name to explain that even Vikarna, who objected us, is also with us. That's why he is mentioning the name of Vikarna. Then Duryodhana, he is making one more comparison. He is saying the strength of our army is unlimited. Why unlimited? Because it is properly protected by Bhishma Pitamaha. But the Pandavas' army, who is actually protected by Bhima, it is not enough. Why he is comparing Bhishma and Bhima? Because here in Kauravas' army, commander-in-chief is Bhishma Pitama. Understood? But in Pandavas' army, commander-in-chief is not Bhima, it is Drishtadhumna. But he is comparing Bhima and Bhishma. So why he is comparing Bhima and Bhishma? Because Duryodhana knew very well that if at all the Kauravas will die, it will be killed only by Bhima. Because Bhima has taken a vow that I will kill all these 100 Kauravas and I will break the thigh of the Duryodhana. Because Duryodhana, at the time of Draupadi's Chirharan, Duryodhana told like that, Draupadi, come and sit on my thigh. So that time Bhima, he took a vow, I will break his thigh. So Duryodhana, he was very much fearful of Bhima, because Bhima had the strength of 10,000 elephants. Just imagine, one elephant itself is so powerful, and Bhima had a strength of 10,000 elephants. So Duryodhana was very fearful that if at all somebody will kill me, it is only Bhima. So that's why he is comparing Bhima and Bhishma. So by this kind of comparison, many people, they may feel insignificant, because he is taking few names, Dronacharya, Bhishma Pitama, Kripacharya, Vikarna, Karna, Somadatta, like that few names he is taking. So by saying this, others may feel that okay, we are not so important, we are insignificant. So again, in a very diplomatic way, he is saying, no, everybody is important, please be at your respective positions and then protect Bhishma Pitama, because Bhishma Pitama, although he is very powerful, he is a very good warrior, but still he has become old now. So please be at your respective positions and then give full support to Bhishma Pitama. So when all those things were happening, Bhishma Pitama understood very clearly that Duryodhana is actually a fearful person and he is fearing so much. So just to cheer him up, he started blowing his conch shell. So Bhishma Pitama, he blew his conch shell, and then along with Bhishma Pitama, everybody else started blowing their conch shells and many other instruments. And the final sound was tumultuous. That's what Prabhupada writes. And then next what happened? From the Pandava side, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, started blowing his conch shell. The conch shell name is Panchajanya. So that's why it says Panchajanyam Rishikesho Devadattam Dhananjayaha. The name of Shanka is mentioned, and it is also mentioned in the previous shloka, the shloka number 14, that this Shankha is not a ordinary Shankha. This Shankha is Divya Shankha, Divya Shankho. This is a transcendental conch shell. So the conch shell of Krishna and Arjuna is mentioned as a transcendental conch shell. Why it is transcendental conch shell? Because both are not a normal personalities. They are transcendental personalities. They are the same personalities who came as a Nara Narayana Rishi in the past. Arjuna became Nara Rishi and Krishna became Narayana Rishi. So both the personalities have again come in the form of Krishna and Arjuna. So their conch shells are transcendental. And what is the name of their conch shell? The Panchajanya is the name of Krishna's conch shell, and Devadatta is the name of Arjuna's conch shell. And again many other names are mentioned, like Bhima's conch shell name is Pondram. And if you go to 16th shloka, Ananta Vijayam Raja. Raja means Yudhishthir Maharaj. His conch shell name is Ananta Vijaya. And then Kunti Putro Yudhishthira. His name is Kunti Putra. So many other conch shell names are mentioned, like Yudhishthira's conch shell name, and then all those things you can please read. So we'll directly go to the 19th shloka, which explains about the situation of Kauravas. So when Pandavas, they blew their conch shells, what happened? It says, Saghosho dharta rashtranam hridayani vedarayat nabascha prithvim cheva tumulo abhyanunadayan. So it says the blowing of the conch shell was so uproarious that the hearts of the Kauravas, the son of Dhritarashtra, were shattered. They all became very fearful by seeing the sound. So they all became very fearful just by listening the sound of the conch shells. Now here you see the conch shells, when Kauravas they blew the conch shells, nothing happened to Pandavas. But when Pandavas they blew their conch shells, Kauravas are fearful. Why Pandavas are not fearful? Because they have full faith on Krishna. Lord is at our side. Nothing to fear. When Lord is with you, there is nothing to fear. There is a shloka in Bhagavatam, it says, Narayana paras sarve nakutashtana vidyati. This shloka is told by Lord Shiva himself. So Lord Shiva is saying, Narayana paras sarve, one who accepts Krishna or Narayana, the Supreme Lord, and then he becomes surrendered to him. What happened? Na kutashtana vidyati. He has nothing to fear in this world. He has nothing to fear. And that's what practically we can see in the life of Pandavas. So till now we have covered the first section of the first chapter, which is from shloka number 1 to shloka number 19th. It explains about the Duryodhana's observing the army and blowing of the conch shells. Now next comes Arjuna's observing the army. So it is from the shloka number 20 to 27th. So here what exactly happened? You see in the shloka number 21st. Arjuna is requesting Krishna, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Ratham Sthapayame Achyuta. Very, very beautiful shloka. It says, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye. Suddenly, when everybody is ready to fight, Arjuna is saying, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye, I want to see everybody. Please take the chariot in between the army. And he is saying to whom? He is saying to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why the name which is addressed to Krishna is Achyuta. What is the meaning of Achyuta? Achyuta means who never falls down, or whose position never comes down. So Krishna, although he is Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has accepted the position of a chariot driver for Arjuna. So he became a driver of Arjuna's vehicle, chariot. Isn't it? Just imagine, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has become a driver, which is a very, very low position. In this world, driver is not a very high class position. But Krishna accepted the position of a driver, chariot driver, for his devotee Arjuna. So here we can understand one more important point, that Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, is Bhakta Vatsala. Bhakta Vatsala means he is ready to serve his devotees. He is very, very dear to his devotees, and he is always eager to serve them. devotees are always eager to serve Krishna, and Krishna in return always eager to serve his devotees. So that is a position. So Krishna, to serve his devotees, he became chariot driver. Actually, Mahabharata describes that in the war field, it's not that you just tell something, okay, go right, go left, and then it will be moving. No. As a chariot driver, Krishna, when he is sitting, Arjuna was hitting with his leg. Arjuna was hitting Krishna's back with his leg. If he has to go right, he was hitting at the right side. And when he has to go left, he was hitting at the left side from his leg. Because in the war field, you can't expect that Arjuna will be talking like this and Krishna will be listening, and then sound will be, all those things we can't expect. So what exactly was happening is, Arjuna was hitting with leg to Krishna. Just imagine, Supreme Personality of Godhead is there, and then Arjuna is hitting with the leg. So Krishna is ready to accept every position. So in the past, if you see, Krishna has also accepted many other menial positions for the sake of his devotees. He became bodyguard for Draupadi. He became security guard for Pandavas. He became messenger for them. He also became housekeeper when there was a Rajasuya Yajna. So Krishna is so beautiful. Krishna is so wonderful in his activities. So Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. For sake of his devotees, he is ready to do anything and everything. Now come back to the shloka number 24th. It says, Rathottamam. Now Krishna has accepted the instruction and the order given by Arjuna. He took his chariot in between the armies. So Arjuna's chariot in this verse is explained as Rathottama, Uttama Ratha, the finest chariot. Why? Because the chariot was actually gifted by Agni Deva himself. And what are the features in this Ratha, in this chariot? This chariot, it can fly in the sky, it can run on the ground, and it can go inside the water as a submarine. Just see, all the three features are there in one Ratha itself. So that's why it is mentioned as Rathottama, the finest chariot. So now it's Arjuna's time to observe the army. Ratha is there just in front of Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama. Krishna is also very intelligent. He has kept a Ratha just in front of Dronacharya and Bhishma Pitama. So Arjuna, he observes the army, and then he categorized the people, all the armies, into 10 grades of relatives. And that is mentioned in the shloka number 26th. So he says, Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both the parties, his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncle, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his father-in-law and well-wisher, all present there. 10 grades of relatives he has actually categorized, all the people he could see. And finally, we all know what happened. Arjuna started lamenting. So till 27th, we have the second section of Bhagavad Gita, and now we start the third section of Bhagavad Gita, first chapter. So it is from shloka number 28 to 46th. Here it is explained about the Arjuna's lamentation and his refusal to fight. So these all shlokas actually you can please read. Actually Arjuna explains that my mouth is drying up, my body is shivering, I cannot fight, my Gandiva is slipping from my hand. So there was a time when Mahabharata Yuddha was going on, fight was happening between Karna and Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yudhishthir Maharaj became almost unconscious. Then immediately he was shifted back to the camp. So Arjuna, because of the brotherly affection, he left the war field and he went to the camp to see his brother Yudhishthir Maharaj. Yudhishthir Maharaj asked, what happened? We won everything, war is finished, why did you come here? Then Arjuna replied that I came to see you. By hearing this answer, Yudhishthir Maharaj became very, very angry. How can you leave war field? Are you a coward? How can you leave war field like this? Throw your Gandiva. What is the use of this? By listening this, Arjuna, first time he became angry on his brother Yudhishthir Maharaj. Arjuna became angry because he was told to throw his Gandiva. It means you can understand how much attachment Arjuna had with his bow Gandiva. And here we can see the same Gandiva he is saying, it is slipping from my hand, I cannot fight. So these all shlokas you can please read, you can go through it. And finally what happens is, Arjuna, he started giving some arguments to Krishna, why not to fight. And what are the arguments he gives? All the arguments are actually summarized into 4 arguments. So the first one he says in the shloka number 27, he says about compassion. If you read the shloka number 27, it says, he became overwhelmed with compassion. So Arjuna, he became compassionate towards the other people. So that was the first reason he has given, compassion. Second reason which Arjuna gives is enjoyment, and that comes from shloka number 30 to 35. He says, what is the use of this all bhoga, enjoyment, rajya, the whole property, and then kingdom? What is the use? I have to kill my own people, my own relatives, kinsmen, and then I will get it. What is the use of this? So that was the second reason he gives. So the third reason which Arjuna gives is regarding sinful reactions. That comes under shloka number 36, 34, etc. And the final one, he tells about the destruction of dynasty. If we kill all these people, dynasty will get destroyed. The Kuru dynasty will get destroyed. So that was the final reason he gives in the shloka number 37 to 43. Okay. So one important point here we can see in the shloka number 36. Arjuna is addressing Krishna as a Syama Madhava. He is addressing Krishna as a Madhava. What is the meaning of Madhava? Madhava means the husband of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. So Krishna is addressed here as Lakshmipati, the husband of the goddess of fortune. So the different names mentioned in different shlokas are very significant. So here Arjuna is actually trying to say that you are the husband of the goddess of fortune, Lakshmipati. Why are you bringing misfortune in my life? Abhagya. Why are you bringing abhagya in my life? Because you are the husband of the goddess of fortune. You are supposed to bring fortune in my life. But by this fight and all, why are you bringing misfortune in my life? So that's what he is trying to say indirectly. So finally, you will see in the shloka number 46, where Arjuna refused to fight, he kept his bow and arrow aside and sat down on the chariot. So the last, not the least, Prabhupada writes at the end of every chapter this particular sentence. He says, thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's not that this is written by Prabhupada, actually it is written by Vyasadeva himself. After the end of every chapter, Vyasadeva has written the same lines in Sanskrit. So Vyasadeva writes, Iti Prathama Adhyayaha Arjuna Nishada Yoga Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sampurnam. That's why in beginning of my talk I explained that this is a Yoga Shastra and this is also explaining about Brahma Vidya. So that's why Prabhupada also uses the same words and he gives a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So again we'll meet tomorrow for the second chapter. So I request all of you at least read the translation of the second chapter and then listen the lecture tomorrow. Okay? Thank you. Hare Krishna.